Okay, I've had this watch, the Visitor Vale Park Officer, for the past just over a week now. Actually, a little bit longer than that. I got it last Friday, but I've been wearing it since then. And it's been over a week, like a weekend, 3 days or so. And this has been a really good watch. It's I don't know if it's a Kickstarter project. I suppose originally it was, but I just went to the visitor site and got on the waiting list, and then pre-ordered this when my name was up to actually do the pre-order, and then wait a little bit longer till production was done, and this finally arrived. In total, that took about just under 5 months. But I would have to say this was so worth the wait. So far, I'll just give you the dimensions. This is I believe it's a 40 millimeter case. Lug to lug. Let's see. Lug to lug. Let's go here. Lug to lug. It's about 45 or so, right? Yeah. So it's a very wearable size. And the lug space bandwidth is 20 millimeters, so a very good size as well. 20 and 22. At least it's not a 21, but 20 is just about perfect. And that's about it, really. And this watch wears really nice on the wrist. As you can see, the curvature of the lugs is really good. Oops. Fingerprint. I'll get a lot more later. And it just sits right on the wrist really well. So, performance-wise, this watch is holding up really, really well. It's got a Miyota 9015 movement in there, and I'll show that off in a moment. Truth be told, I've heard different reports as, not everyone has the exact same performance from the same watch make, especially if it's never really been regulated and all that. It's going to vary depending on how the movement module inside the watch was manufactured before they stuck it in here. Unless Visitor or whatever brands that have a movement, do they actually do some extra work to it to get up to specs? I kind of doubt it. It's probably why you're not paying that much for a Microbrand. But as that being said, a Miyota 9015, I've had those before and they're very solid. Plenty accurate enough, and doesn't take much to get them up to spec. It's just where I'll say that, again, truth be told, this watch was actually running about, let's say, throughout my 12-hour day, since morning till about nighttime, I'd say I'd noticed that it gained about 8 seconds. And I suppose if I, put this down overnight and I get up in the morning again and I check it, usually it gains a few more. And it gained about another 4 seconds. So if you count basically about 24-hour period, this would gain about 12 seconds. I mean, this kind of depends on how you use it during the day. Most watches, I find that as long as you wear them, they kind of hold their time pretty good. They may gain a little bit in the morning, but then it'll kind of hold, like might gain a +1 or +2 a second, and then as long as you wear it for most of the day, it seems to never really advance beyond that. So, but I've been spoiled by some other watches I've had fairly recently. Some Seikos, Steinhardts. My glycine Airman 42 in particular is actually very accurate. It barely moves a second a day for the most part. You put it down, it tends to gain a little bit, but that's how most mechanical automatics go. So, yeah, most of the watches I've had gain maybe throughout the day either it doesn't, or barely, or maybe +1 to +2 at most. And that's why I thought that even with my waking day, about an 8-second gain is doable, but it wasn't ideal. So I went ahead and actually unscrewed this and popped this off very easily and adjusted the the regulator. There's like a little lever inside that has a plus and minus, and I just kind of tapped that a couple of times. You don't need to push it much, and it took me about 3 tries. So when I tried to slow the watch down, it actually was very noticeable. Just in an hour or so or less, it would actually lose about 4 seconds, or was it 8? Yeah, something like that. I actually started losing a lot of seconds dramatically, and then so I quickly nudged it back to where I thought it was, more or less, and just a smidgen under, and that still was losing time. I guess I didn't hit the right mark, I don't know. And so basically, in the end, I got it to the point where this thing doesn't gain for at least a few days. It held this second per second on the clock that I sync this with, and actually it's gone from 8 seconds, or maybe I guess 12 seconds a day, to just 15, maybe just shy of 15 seconds in about 8 days when it hits 1 a.m. That's when I last synchronized. I last made my adjustment. It was Sunday, or rather Monday morning, and around 1 a.m. or so. And I made my last adjustment, and I noticed that the time was holding. And I didn't mess with this for the whole week, all the way till today is the following Monday at almost 10:15, and in 3 hours it'll be exactly 8 days, and it's only gained just under 15 seconds. So that's really good, and especially since all I did was just did this myself, and so I'm pleased that this is doing that well, and the fact that I actually regulated this and it turned out that great. And that's how I'll show you the movement real quickly. Here's the screw down crown, and if you want to just pop open this display case by itself without actually getting to the committing all the way, you do this about, turn that half, and then that's 1 turn, and I think it's about 1.5. There we go. See, it's not out yet. It's still, you got a little bit more till it pops out, and you'll see that in a moment. And you get this lovely, from a plain, very clean back to bam. Look at that. Nice. And this is actually made in Indiana. Kind of an unusual way to write it, I think. And I love the work on this. Very cool. I want to put a picture back here, I think. We'll see. I don't know if I want to cover it or if it'll even be able to hold, but kind of a nice little thing to keep a picture of my daughter and and my significant other in here. We'll see. Have to play around with that. And yeah, this is the visitor park. I believe this is the line that is under the officer, which is visitor's second watch, basically. And the owner, Phil Rodenbeck, or is it Rodenbeck? He wanted to play off of the Dune Shore, his first watch, which was based off of calligraphy pen. He likes calligraphy, and you can sort of see that this is more stylized and is angled kind of down more. But if you see the Dune Shore, you can really see like the fountain pen kind of tip here, and it's really heavily designed on the dial. Not so much here, but you still have the design cues, and but it's a bit more subtle on that end. And I think he said he wanted to also make this sort of like a military style with this officer back, and he did a great job because this has been receiving a lot of compliments. Just check out the finishing. There's polished, brushed, polished, brushed, polished up there, and another brushed, and it's ever so slightly, I don't know if it'll focus. See, the crystal is just, the sapphire crystal just pops up. It's like a box setting, and yeah, it's really cool. And this Miona movement is decorated. You can see it's not plain. It's got the visitor door knocker logo with the lion head, and there's some decorations in the movement. And see right there, this guy, I just opened this up and I just pushed that. I believe I've moved I think it's that lever right there. I have to get a better look. Actually, you know, it's this one, not that one out there. It's this guy. I just nudged it ever so slightly to the first to the minus, and I did it too much, and I moved it back. And I think if I'm looking at it right, there's like a tiny little dimple that points towards that. And it doesn't take much to really offset it. And so, if you do decide to do that, just be wary not to do too much. Anyways, now it's running really good. 15 seconds for 8 days and running. And I'd be curious to see if it could do how long it holds after 2 weeks, because it seems to have bottomed out. It was holding like a second, and then maybe 2 seconds, and it was gaining. Seemed like about 2 seconds a day, roughly, from when I, after I put it down at night and I pick it up, and eventually it got to a point where it was about 15 seconds a day, gained 2 or 3 seconds overnight, and then for the past few days it's been basically holding at plus 15 seconds. It hasn't really gained, it hasn't lost anything, and so it's just holding, and so you can't really complain about that. Anyways, so the way you wind this is you just turn this a little bit more, and you'll see it pop. See, just like that, it just popped open. Now you can get into the winding action. These are fingerprints, and that reminds me of it, but just clean this up a little bit before I close it. And this would be a good place to engrave, obviously, and personalize it if you wanted to. And there you go. And let's just lock this down. And there's no date. Don't really need one. And for me, it holds right about there. Just past, but I don't know. Might as well just make it symmetrical. It's not like this doesn't have much water resistance, as you can see. Probably 5 ATMs of even that, but it's alright. I usually take off my watches before I go take a dive anyways, and it looks very symmetrical, very unusual design, and all this, the track out here, and these, see here, the 3 dots, the track, those are actually applied on the top of this matte dial, black dial. As you can see, it looks simple, but it's actually it's actually a sandwich dial. You see how these lines, it's recessed, the crosshairs, and these hour markers at 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11. And and also visitors printed. But yeah, those other parts of the dial are actually sandwiched under, you see. So it's kind of like how they do panorama dials. I guess it's the most notable sandwich dial that I know of. And it's all C3, and this glows pretty good. I don't know if we're going to be able to see that. Oops, I'm going to blind you guys and myself. There we go. And you get the idea. It's pretty bright, but it's not like Seiko Lume, so it will fade out a little bit. But at a lower dim level, it is still legible, and I've noticed that I've been able to, with a decent charge throughout the day. It's not hiding in the dark too much. Even indoors, whatever light there is to charge it, it'll hold a decent amount of charge overnight till morning. So yeah, you can still read this in a really low lighting, even after several hours, and quite good. And yeah, some people, I think I've changed this band out a couple of times because I have a lot of strap options, and I like to do that. But this is a nice strap. It's leather, and looks pretty well made to me. Stitched on both sides, and it's double colored, black with the brown trim, and it's got these 3 dots, which is one of the design cues on this, as you can see, with the 3 dots all around. And it's funny, somebody asked about where you got the design, and he got to mentioning about the 3 dots and how he didn't have anything in mind, but I think subconsciously he was thinking about the aiming reticles, the 3 dots that, the movie in The Predator, or Predator rather, that's what it's maybe designed after for some reason, but it works. It's just a design element. And the funny thing was, even before I read his response, I was thinking over the weekend, these, and always from the beginning, it's pretty neat, but it does remind me of the Predator dots, aiming dots, and it just so happens to be more than likely that's what it was. And it's holding up, and you can see that the buckle was designed to match. It's a little bit wide for such a strap, actually, but it's alright because it actually matches with, you see that? The case lugs right there. Some of the design cues, how it's rounded, and like that, and it's got this sort of profile, and you can see the shape here and the same thickness too. So some design consistency. But this looks great, and quite a lot of strap options. Probably have some of the leather ones, and I tried it on NATOs and combination straps. It's a bit of a strap monster, although admittedly, because of the slightly greenish hue that you can get from the C3 Lume, I feel it limits some of the color combinations slightly. If it was more white, the Lume, when it's not lit up, I think that might have made this style just a little bit more flexible in terms of matching with other color straps, much more neutral because it's just black and white. But because of that slight greenish tint, you gotta have to kind of play with it. Try some stuff on and see if it actually all works together. But it's not too bad. I've been able to find some pretty good choices. So overall, the build is really good, and I think he's gonna make one maybe in black PVD. a black version. I was made a friendly suggestion that this will look killer in rose gold with this dial, and maybe change the C3 to BGW9 with the blue lume with the rose gold. I think that would look really classy. And if not, if he keeps the stainless steel, perhaps a dial change. He has like a sand color that he has for the Dune Shore, which would look good. A deep blue is always good, and I believe I've always liked like a copper, or sometimes they call it a salmon color. Depends on how much metallic is in it, but you get that kind of warm pinkish tone to a dial that you've seen on some watches. And that's basically it. I'm trying to keep this under 30 minutes. So it comes in a nice case. I don't have it here, it's upstairs, but it's a travel case box. You see a lot of microbrands have this, I think, these days, like Stratton I think has it. And you open it up, and then the watch is here, and there's a little compartment for accessories or little straps or tools if you need to. It's a real simple travel case, but that's basically it. I think the other thing is I'll probably try this on a suede. Actually, I do have a suede, a gray one, but actually I want to try it on maybe a bun strap. Yeah, not everyone's a fan of that, and I'm particular about that too because they can be rather bulky. But with the right one, I can see it working. Especially since, Phil, again, the owner of Visitor, says that this is supposed to be a military-esque style, in his own interpretation of it. And because of that, it would look good on, of course, distressed leather and like a bund or something, even like a olive drab sort of, fabric strap. And yeah, I guess that's it. So I hope I didn't babble too much. This is probably going to be definitely, almost certainly, a keeper. It's very well made. It's got very cool and unique case design, very original and all together the design is, and it's hard to find that in a Microbrand because there's a lot of homages and inspired watch designs, which I don't mind, but I am kind of getting out of that phase of going with homages. Microbrands do great work on those for a really good price. Steinhardt does a lot of good ones, and there's a ton of microbrands that are doing a lot of similar stuff. But it's good to have something very original and never seen before, and I think it draws a lot of attention. And this has gotten nothing but positive reviews from almost everyone I've shown it to on Facebook, and everyone else who has one managed to get theirs in by now. Everyone's really enjoying this watch. It's doing very well. So, and about the price that I got this for, it's definitely worth it. A little bit on the pricier side for a Microbrand, but I can see that the engineering and the time and Carrie took into being very considerate of everything that goes into building this watch, and I think it shows. Yep, and this will end with a wrist shot. See, just like that, something like that. There you go. And for your information, I have about a 7 1/4 inch wrist, so it fits it really good. And look at that, it just fits so good. Alright, I recommend, if you're interested, put yourself on a waiting list, and when your time's up to order, do it. and enjoy it in a few months, because it does take some time, but it really is worth it. And I don't think you could be unhappy with something like this. Alright, so until next time, peace.